Welcome to a journey that transcends the ordinary, the path of spiritual awakening. In this unprecedented time, where millions are searching for deeper meaning, you may have felt a subtle calling, a gentle whisper, inviting you to explore beyond the surface of everyday life. Recent studies show that over 40% of people are actively seeking spiritual growth, recognizing that there's more to life than what meets the eye. This isn't just a trend, it's a collective awakening of human consciousness. Today, we'll explore the 5 transformative stages of spiritual awakening, a journey that's both universal and uniquely personal. Whether you're just beginning to feel that inner stirring, or you're already well along your path, this guide will help illuminate the way forward. Together, we'll discover how this natural unfolding of consciousness can transform your life and connect you to something far greater than yourself. Let's begin this extraordinary journey of self-discovery and awakening. Stage 1. The seed of discontent. Recognizing the call. Meet Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing executive. From the outside, her life checked all the boxes of success. Corner office with a view of the city, designer wardrobe, perfect Instagram feed, and a relationship that everyone envied. Yet sitting in her luxury apartment one evening, surrounded by all the trappings of success, she felt an inexplicable emptiness that no achievement could fill. This is stage 1 of spiritual awakening, the seed of discontent. It's that nagging feeling that despite doing everything right by society's standards, something fundamental is missing. You might recognize it in your own life. That subtle ache that appears in quiet moments, when the distractions fade away. Perhaps you felt it too, waking up one day to realize that the path you're on, though successful by external measures, feels somehow hollow. Maybe it shows up as restlessness during your morning commute, or a sudden questioning of choices that once seemed so certain. You might find yourself asking, is this all there is? This discontent isn't a sign that you've failed or made wrong choices. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's your soul's first whisper, calling you toward a deeper, more authentic way of being. Think of it as a spiritual alarm clock, gently waking you from the slumber of ordinary existence. For Sarah, this feeling manifested as panic attacks during important meetings and sleepless nights filled with existential questions. The more she tried to ignore it by working harder or buying more things, the louder the calling became. Like many of us, she initially tried to fill this void with external solutions, a promotion, a new relationship, exotic vacations, only to find the emptiness persisting. What makes this stage particularly challenging is that our society often dismisses these feelings as mere depression or midlife crisis. But this divine discontent serves a crucial purpose. It's the catalyst that initiates our spiritual journey. It's your inner compass, pointing toward true north, even when that direction seems unclear. Remember, if you're experiencing these feelings, you're not alone. This discomfort is actually a sign of awakening consciousness, the first step toward a more meaningful and authentic life. Like a seed, pushing through soil toward the light, this discontent is the beginning of your spiritual growth. Just as Sarah would eventually discover, this unsettling feeling isn't the end of the story. It's merely the beginning of an extraordinary journey of self-discovery and awakening. As the seed of discontent takes root, we enter stage 2, the seeker. This is where Sarah's journey truly began to unfold. One lunch break, instead of her usual scroll through social media, she found herself drawn to a small bookstore. There, amid shelves of spiritual literature, she picked up her first book on meditation. This stage is characterized by an insatiable curiosity, a hunger for understanding that leads us to explore paths we might have previously dismissed. Like a child discovering a new world, we begin to question everything we once took for granted. What is consciousness? Why are we here? What lies beyond our physical existence? Sarah's journey led her from weekend meditation retreats to yoga classes, from Buddhist temples to Christian mysticism study groups. She began attending workshops on energy healing, downloaded mindfulness apps, and spent hours watching videos of spiritual teachers online. Each new experience opened another door, revealing the vast landscape of spiritual traditions available to modern seekers. This is where many of us begin to question our inherited beliefs, the religious or secular worldviews we acquired from our families and culture. It's not about rejecting these beliefs, but rather examining them with fresh eyes and an open heart. Like archaeologists of the soul, we dig beneath surface-level understanding to uncover deeper truths. There's beauty in this stage of exploration, because every path offers unique wisdom. Some find their truth in the stillness of meditation, others in the flowing movements of yoga, and still others in the sublime cathedral of nature. Some connect through prayer, others through dance, art, or music. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to spirituality, and that's precisely what makes this journey so rich and personal. However, this stage can also feel overwhelming. With so many paths and practices available, it's easy to become a spiritual tourist, sampling everything, but committing to nothing. Sarah found herself jumping from practice to practice, workshop to workshop, initially searching for the perfect path. The key is to approach this exploration with discernment, while remaining open to guidance. Notice what resonates deeply with your soul versus what merely appeals to your curiosity. Pay attention to those practices that bring you not just temporary excitement, but lasting peace and clarity. Remember, this seeking stage isn't about finding the right path. It's about discovering what awakens truth within you. Each tradition, each practice, is like a different finger pointing to the same moon. The goal isn't to fixate on the finger, but to see where it's pointing. As we'll see in the next stage, all these external explorations eventually lead us to the most important journey of all, the journey inward. Stage 3 marks a profound shift in the spiritual journey, the moment when our search turns inward. After months of exploring various spiritual practices, Sarah realized that all paths were leading her to the same place: herself. This is where the real work begins. Through daily journaling, Sarah started noticing patterns in her life, how her need for control stemmed from childhood uncertainty, how her drive for perfection masked a deep fear of unworthiness. Each journal entry became a mirror, reflecting back parts of herself she had never fully seen or understood. The inner journey is both beautiful and challenging. It's like cleaning out an attic that's been locked for years. You find treasures you forgot existed, but you also encounter dust and cobwebs that need clearing. As Sarah wrote in her journal, it's strange how looking within can feel scarier than climbing mountains or speaking to crowds. During this stage, we begin to recognize our limiting beliefs, those inner voices that say, "I'm not good enough," "I don't deserve love," or "I need to struggle to succeed." These beliefs aren't our true nature. They're stories we've inherited or created to protect ourselves, but acknowledging them requires courage. When we face our doubts, the power of self-reflection lies in its ability to illuminate these patterns without judgment. Through practices like meditation, journaling, and contemplation, we develop what Buddhist traditions call the witness consciousness, the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without being consumed by them. This stage often brings up uncomfortable truths. Sarah discovered how many of her relationships were based on seeking approval rather than authentic connection. She realized how often she said yes when she meant no, how she used busyness to avoid feeling, and how her pursuit of perfection was really a shield against vulnerability. These realizations can be painful, but they're also doorways to freedom. Each time we shine the light of awareness on our patterns, they begin to lose their unconscious power over us. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, what seems scary becomes clear and manageable. Remember, this inner work isn't about fixing yourself. It's about understanding and accepting yourself. It's about recognizing that beneath all the conditioning and learned behaviors lies your true nature, whole and complete. The journey inward is a return to this essential self. As this stage deepens, we develop a more compassionate relationship with ourselves. We learn to hold our shadows and our light with equal love, understanding that both are part of our human experience. But as we'll see in the next stage, this self-discovery process often leads us to an even deeper level of transformation, one that requires us to face our shadow. This stage is often called the dark night of the soul, and for good reason. It's where we encounter our shadow, those parts of ourselves we've tried to hide, deny, or suppress. Like a crucible used to purify metals through intense heat, this stage burns away what no longer serves us, even if we think we need it. For Sarah, losing her job meant confronting her attachment to external validation. Without her prestigious title and salary, who was she? The end of her relationship forced her to face her fear of being alone, and her pattern of compromising her truth to maintain connections. These weren't just casual realizations. They were soul-shaking confrontations with her core wounds. This stage can feel like being in a cocoon, dark, confined, and seemingly endless. Just as a caterpillar must completely dissolve before becoming a butterfly, we too must allow parts of our old self to die for transformation to occur. It's a biological process called histolysis, and it's a perfect metaphor for this spiritual stage. During this time, it's crucial to remember that you don't have to face the shadow alone. Sarah found support through a therapist who understood spiritual emergence, a women's circle that held space for her process, and friends who could sit with her in her darkness without trying to fix it. Self-compassion becomes not just helpful, but essential. While this stage can feel like destruction, it's actually a profound restructuring. Every challenge, every painful revelation, serves to strip away what's false, so the authentic self can emerge. Sarah's job loss freed her to pursue work aligned with her values. The end of her relationship created space for genuine connections based on truth rather than convenience. Remember, just as nature requires storms for growth, our spiritual journey requires these periods of intensity and challenge. The key is not to resist the process, but to surrender to it with trust, knowing that this too shall pass. As Sarah wrote in her journal during this time, "I'm learning that breaking open isn't breaking down. Sometimes the most painful moments are actually doorways to our most authentic self." When we allow ourselves to be transformed by the crucible, something remarkable emerges. A deeper sense of self, a more authentic way of being. And as we'll see in our next stage, this breaking open creates space for something new to emerge. Stage 5 brings us to integration and emergence, the dawn after the dark night. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, Sarah began to experience life with new eyes and a profound sense of peace that wasn't dependent on external circumstances. The transformation was subtle yet profound. Where she once pushed through life with nervous energy, she now moved with grace and presence. Her former drive for perfection had transformed into an appreciation for life's natural unfolding. The anxious achiever had become a peaceful warrior, carrying her hard-won wisdom into each day. This stage isn't about reaching some mythical endpoint, it's about embracing the journey itself. Sarah discovered that true spirituality wasn't about escaping everyday life, but about bringing presence and awareness to every moment. Simple activities, sharing a meal with friends, watering plants, even sitting in traffic, became opportunities for practice and connection. One of the most beautiful aspects of this stage is the natural emergence of interconnectedness. Sarah began experiencing what mystics have described for centuries, a felt sense that everything is connected. The boundaries between self and other, between inner and outer, became more permeable. She could feel her connection to others, to nature, to life itself. Integration also brought a natural desire to serve others, not from a place of obligation, but from an overflow of inner fullness. Sarah found herself naturally sharing her journey with others who were struggling, not as someone who had arrived, but as a fellow traveler who had learned to trust the path. This stage teaches us that awakening isn't about transcending our humanity, it's about fully embracing it. Sarah learned to dance with both light and shadow, understanding that both are essential parts of the human experience. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, connection and solitude, all became welcome guests in the house of her being. The peace that emerges in this stage isn't the absence of challenges, it's the presence of something deeper that can hold all experiences. Like a vast sky that remains unchanged by passing clouds, Sarah discovered an inner spaciousness that could embrace all of life's weather. This is the gift of the spiritual journey, not an escape from life, but a deeper participation in it. Not a perfect existence, but a more authentic one. Not an end to growth, but a conscious embrace of the eternal dance of becoming. Remember, this emergence isn't a final destination, but a new beginning, an invitation to live from a place of expanded awareness and heart-centered presence in every moment. As we've journeyed through these 5 stages of spiritual awakening, you might be wondering, what comes next? The truth is both simpler and more complex than you might imagine. Spiritual awakening isn't a linear path with a clear beginning and end. It's more like a spiral, continuously evolving and deepening. As author Ashley Melillo beautifully illustrates in her work on spiritual awakening, there are actually many nuanced stages we may experience throughout our journey. Sometimes we might find ourselves revisiting earlier stages, but with new depth and understanding. What once felt like a crisis of faith might later become a gateway to deeper wisdom. Think of it like nature's cycles. Just as the seasons flow one into another, our spiritual journey moves in cycles of growth, integration, and renewed awakening. Sarah discovered this when, years after her initial awakening, life presented her with new challenges that initiated another cycle of growth. Each cycle brings its own gifts and challenges. You might find yourself feeling like a beginner again, even after years of practice. This isn't regression, it's spiral growth. You're revisiting familiar territory from a higher perspective, with more wisdom and compassion at your disposal. The key is to approach each cycle with patience and self-acceptance. Trust that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. As the ancient wisdom traditions teach us, faith isn't about believing in a specific outcome, it's about trusting the process itself. Remember, wherever you are on this spiral of awakening is perfect. Whether you're feeling the first stirrings of spiritual curiosity or navigating your 100th cycle of growth, you're exactly where you need to be. The journey itself is the destination. This understanding brings a profound peace, the recognition that our spiritual journey is as natural and beautiful as the turning of the seasons, each cycle bringing its own unique gifts of awakening and growth. As we conclude our exploration of spiritual awakening, remember that while this journey is deeply personal, you're not meant to walk it alone. Your experiences, insights, and even struggles are part of our collective journey toward greater consciousness. We invite you to share your own awakening story in the comments below. Where are you on this spiral path? What insights have transformed your understanding? Your voice matters, and your story might be exactly what another seeker needs to hear. If you found value in this guide, please subscribe to our channel for more content on spiritual growth, consciousness expansion, and practical wisdom for the awakening journey. Together we create a community of support and understanding. Remember the words of Rumi: "What you seek is seeking you." Trust your journey, embrace each stage, and know that every step, even those that feel like steps backward, is leading you home to yourself. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love.